Have you ever been on a date with the Lord? Well, I came to spill all the tea on my dating life with the Lord, okay? So y'all come on and tune in. But before I do, I want to give you guys a bit of a backstory. So, more than a month ago, out of obedience to the Lord, I took this major leap of faith. And I can't give you guys all the details about it because some of my closest loved ones and friends, I haven't shared it with them just yet, simply because I do not want to risk, you know, unsolicited feedback, opinions that may potentially be negative. I don't want to risk it discouraging me or causing me to not walk in obedience. And so I'm like, yeah, they'll find out about it later, okay? But I totally thought that I was this nature girl, right? Like I knew I didn't like bugs and stuff like that, but when it comes to nature, I'm like, I like nature. Well, these recent dates that I've been having with the Lord determined that that was a lie. After seeing quite a few deer, I'm like, okay, maybe this ain't for me. Okay, God. But I want to let you guys in on how this dating experience has been going. And honestly, it's been a beautiful thing just to be able to draw closer to the Lord and have a more intimate relationship with Him. Like, I was already drawing closer to the Lord. So, like, my daily life, I was already starting my mornings off in prayer with the Lord and talking to Him throughout the day. And some of my best prayer time with the Lord is when I'm in the shower. It's just something about when I'm in the shower. It's like I reach a whole nother realm of the spirit when I'm in that shower. But anyway, but I really been enjoying my one-on-one time with the Lord. And so I've discovered that I kind of like nature, but I more so like the views. So I like mountains. I like the views of the trees, the water and so forth. But I technically don't like the animals. I don't like the creatures. I don't all those things. I'm good on that. Okay. So I want to focus on the date that I had with the Lord on yesterday. So he's been having me to go to different places like Stone Mountain, Kennesaw Mountain, and more recently Vickery Creek Falls, and that's in Roswell, Georgia. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And so I got out there on yesterday, probably a little bit before 11 a.m. And so I'm like, okay. And the last time that I was out there, I started walking along the water part of the trail, like the trail that's closest to the water. Because after my first time out there, after I saw like 3 or 4 deer, like up close and personal, I was like, yeah, no, get me away from these animals. And if you've been watching some of my other videos, you'll probably already know about my encounters with these deer. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm gonna stay near the water. But the last time I went, I only went to the other end. And so this time I was like, okay, when I go out there, I'm going to go to the opposite end of the water trail. So that's what I do. And once I get to the other end of the water trail, I see this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful waterfall. And I'm like, wow, that is just so beautiful. And so, but because the trail only goes but so far on that side, because it's like part of the woods, but you can only get so far from that side of it. But I was looking directly across from that side where the other side of the waterfall was, and I could see people with a better view on that side. So I'm like, let me go on that side so I can get a better view of this beautiful waterfall. So I then go to the opposite side of the woods, and now I can see the waterfall up close and personal. So now I'm taking pictures, I'm taking videos and all the things, right? And so on that side of the waterfall, after I'm done admiring this beautiful waterfall, I see like this path, and it's like I think it's like Creek Mill Park or Old Mill Park. I think Old Mill Park. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, let me explore a little bit, okay, y'all. I'm like on my door explorer, okay. So I go to explore. I'm walking through this little like there's like some little gravel on the ground or whatever, but you can see like trees. And so, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm like, I'm just gonna walk and see. So I get ready to bend this curve, right? And as I bend this curve, I get a slight glimpse of this white tail like up in the air. And I'm like, what is that? So I pause, like my heart, like I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? And so I'm like, well, maybe it's a dog. But then I'm like, that got to be a big dog because if it was a little dog, the tail would be closer to the ground. The tail that I saw, like the white tail, it was like high up in the air. So I'm like, that's the big dog. So I'm like, and I don't see no people out here. I don't hear no people. I don't hear no voices. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know if it's safe for me to go. Like, so now I'm peeping around the corner, right? Okay. So as I'm peeping around the corner, there's like this big cement thing. I don't know what it's called. It's something to do with the water. But I'm like hiding behind that, but at the same time trying to get a peek. And I'm like, can I see some people? So I'm trying to get a little bit closer so I could get a better view. And whatever it was, I don't see anything. I don't see a person or whatever. So I'm like, okay, maybe the coast is clear. Maybe whatever it is, maybe it's gone. Maybe it ran in the woods, so on and so forth, right? So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, God, I'm going to do this. I can do this, Lord, okay? So I continue to walk, y'all, as I bend the corner. What do I see to the left? It's a deer. It's a whole freaking deer. So it like the bottom part of the deer, like when the tail is up, it's white. That's what it was. So now I'm looking at the deer, and y'all, if y'all watch my other videos, like I'm kind of traumatized from these deer. Like, and so, but this time I'm like, I'm gonna be brave. I'm praying. I'm like, Lord, I could do this, because the Lord is like, no, you're not leaving. You're not, because my first instinct is to turn the opposite way and just be like, nope, I'm gone. But I'm like, no, I'm going to conquer this thing. I can do this. You are more than a conqueror, girl, okay? So I'm like giving myself this pep talk. Yeah, I was even so bold enough to actually take out my phone and record a video of the deer. Like now I'm like bold, but like I can't even really see it that good. But the deer is like in the little trees. And I see the deer kind of looking. The deer kind of peeped at me, but it was so busy trying to like get down in the ground and eat whatever it was doing. And I'm like, okay, good. So the coast is clear. Maybe I could just keep walking forward. It's not going to hear me. It's not going to run. Because my biggest fear is like, what if this thing run towards me? Like, what am I going to do? Because, baby. So I'm like, I'm just going to have to call on the Lord, okay? But anyway, so I continue to walk. And as I'm walking, I'm like trying to see where this path is heading or where this trail is headed. And so as I get to like the end of what appears to be like a little circle thing, there's like this little path, but it's like kind of like a tunnel, so to speak, but it's like it goes above the water. So I'm like, I'm not about to walk across that, because if I walk across that, I feel like I'm gonna fall in the water. So I'm like, I'm not about to do that. Well, next thing you know, there's this guy, and this is what he does. So he walks across the little thing, and I'm like, oh, okay. So now he's walked and he's passed me and he's gone. But I'm like, well, if I got to get to the woods that way, if I got to walk across this barrel, which is right above the water, I'm not doing that, because I don't want to risk falling into this nasty, murky water. No, I'm not doing that. So I'm like, no. So let me turn around and I'm going to access the woods from the other side. So as I turn around, but the guy is now like walking further ahead of me. And so I'm like, well, good. Now I got somebody. Now I feel a little bit confident and safe, because I'm like, well, he gonna see the deer. And you could tell like these people, because it ain't really people that look like me. It's people a little bit lighter. I mean, I know I'm light, but you know, it's people that's a lot lighter than me. Okay, if you catch my drift, like, okay. So I'm like, they ain't scared, okay? He ain't scared. He ain't worried, okay? So he's walking, and he didn't already bypass the little part of the woods where I saw the deer at. So I'm like, okay, cool. Y'all, as I get up closer and closer to the part where I saw the deer at, now I guess he didn't alarm the deer, because the deer must have like heard him. So now the deer is not like eating and distracted. The deer is like staring me in my face like this, and I'm looking at the deer is looking at me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want no problems, okay? So I'm like, Lord, why you keep doing this to me? I'm like, this date was going good, God, but like really, like, why? I said, okay, God. Like I be having my moments, and I'm like, all right, Lord, I could do this. So I keep on going or whatever. So, but y'all, let me tell you, so there's a lot of birds. And so the whole time while I'm walking past these trees, I kept hearing birds. So I'm just jumping left and right. I'm like, every time I hear a bird, like it's fly from one branch to the other branch, like y'all, I'm so jumpy. It just don't make no sense. I'm like jumpy like a real crackhead, okay? But I'm like, Lord, like, why we gotta go through this? But I want to share with you guys a little bit more, like, because it gets better, like, you know. But yeah, that was my adventure as far as with me seeing another deer. But I was proud of myself, because I'm like, yes, Lord, I conquered this thing. Like, I got through it. I like overcame my fear, and I'm like, okay, yay me. Okay, guys, so this is the video that I captured of the deer. As you guys can see, he's just minding his business, you know, trying to find him some food, I guess. And so, yeah. So now I'm feeling like I'm more than a conqueror because I done conquered this encounter that I done had with this deer. So I'm feeling all brave. I'm like, yes, Lord, yes, like, yes. And the Lord is basically like just telling me that, like, you know, that's the whole reason why I have you out here in nature, like out here in these woods, because I need for you to face your fears. And so that's one of the things that he's been showing me on this journey with him. He's like, I need for you to trust me because on this faith walk, there are going to be things, there are going to be times where you're going to be afraid, you're going to be scared. He's like, but I need you to not fear. I need you to like continue on in the journey in spite of the fear. Like, I don't want you to let fear cause you to give up or cause you to quit. And so I'm like, yes, Lord. But I'm like, well, really, God? So I be having these moments with him. I bust out laughing and I'm like, for real, God? Like, for real? I'm like, you couldn't find another way to convey this message. Okay, you couldn't find another illustration aside from me seeing these deer and keep being traumatized by these deer. But the Lord is like, yeah, I'm going to make you face these fears. And I'm like, okay, Lord. So anyhow, I'm walking back down, passing the waterfall. And this time, as I'm walking down the hill passing the waterfall, I see this bird, and the bird is like really just chilling, standing right there where the water is falling. And it's a different looking bird. I'm like, it kind of looks like a cross between a flamingo and a pelican. But I knew that it was neither of the two. But I'm like, I don't know what kind of bird. I don't know what it's called. But it has like these long legs and this long neck and a beak. And it was a pretty bird. So now I'm curious. But of course, I'm recording because I'm trying to get content and all the things. And so I'm like, yes. And so, but the weather was really nice outside. And so initially I had on like my coat and my gloves because I'm anemic. And so I get cold real easy. And so, but now it's hot. The sun is out. And yesterday I think the temperature reached like almost 80 degrees. It was definitely in the 70s. So I went back to my car, I put my coat, and I'm like, I'm not ready for this day to be over because we having a good time. Like me and the Lord was really having a good time. And so I'm like, no, I'm going to go through the trail. And so I go through the trail and now I'm taking a different trail, but I'm not as afraid because there are way more people outside because the weather is so nice. And so while I'm still like walking the trail alone and by myself, about every 10-15 minutes as I'm going throughout the trail, I run into another person or I cross paths with someone else. So I wasn't as afraid because I'm like, well, at least if there are some deer, like somebody else gonna see it and I ain't out here by myself. Like if I scream, somebody gonna hear me, okay? But anyway, and so I'm going along the trail, and this trail that I was on, it was like really skinny, and I'm like, I'm feeling like I gotta do like this, like, cause the trail is like really tiny, and it's kind of like on a cliff, so you like you really on the edge, but it's beautiful, you know, it's real beautiful, and it ended up taking me to this other side of the woods where there was this other waterfall, and the waterfall is just beautiful. So I had this moment with the Lord where, you know, I just got down there where I got a little bit closer to the water, and I just love the sound of the water. Like, it's so peaceful, it's so soothing, and I'm just really talking to the Lord, like telling him how much I'm enjoying these intimate moments that I've been spending with him, and like it just means so much to me, and I'm just thankful just to even be in his presence. And so I'm like literally in awe. And so then I decided, okay, now, like after I'd have been out in the woods for over 2 hours, I'm like, okay, maybe it's time for me to get ready to go home because traffic about to pick up. So I'm getting ready to head back out like towards where my car is. And when I go like down the stairs, there's like the creek part. Well, now I see that same bird, but now I get a little closer glimpse. So I'm like, okay, let me get a closer picture or video of the bird. So I go downstairs and get closer in the water so I can get some footage of the bird. And as I'm getting ready to go back to my car, so now I'm doing the research and I'm trying to like look up the spiritual and biblical meaning. Well, for one, I got to figure out what kind of bird this is because I don't even know the name of the bird. But I put in like a flamingo and I'm like, yep, nope. I knew this wasn't a flamingo because they showed me pictures and I'm like, nope. And I put in pelican. I'm like, nope, it's not a pelican. You know, very similar, but it's not quite that. And so then I started looking up like common birds that you'll find at the creek or river and stuff like that. And so I'm doing all this research trying to figure out what kind of bird this is. And so because there was also another creature that I saw on Monday. And so I'm going to come back and share the details of what I found out about the other creature as well as the bird. Okay guys, so this is the video that I captured of the egret when it was standing in front of the big waterfall. And look how beautiful that waterfall is. Like I told you, it was just so beautiful. And he just chilling. I don't know if he like reflecting on some food or what. And this is a video of the smaller waterfall that I told you guys about when I went to the other side of the mountain when I was on the skinny trail or the narrow. But yeah, it's just beautiful. All right, so just a little disclaimer before I tell you guys about these creatures and their meanings. If you hear snoring, I promise it's not a grown man. It's my fur babies, Cairo and Chloe, okay? So please just disregard that sound. But yeah, I got to go back to kind of tell you guys a little bit about the creature that I saw on Monday. But I kind of got to give you guys a little bit more of a backstory. So the Lord has been communicating to me in different ways. So by signs and dreams and so forth. And so the other night I couldn't sleep. I had trouble sleeping, and the Lord began to talk to me, and he kept saying something about the number 5. And so and the only thing I can think of as far as what relates to the number 5 was this prophecy that I received back in January. And I'm like, okay, Lord, so maybe that's what he's saying to me about the number 5. So, I'm always writing in my notes. So when I'm having these dreams or when the Lord starts speaking to me and I have these downloads, it'd be like random stuff, but it's kind of like he's giving me clues. And then as I continue to go on throughout this faith journey, then I kind of put things together, or I'll go back to my notes and I'll be like, oh, that's what that meant. And so like this has been my experience for like the past several weeks. And so but anyway, so on Monday, I remember I told you guys I was like going across the other part of the water path. And so I also had been watching this video that same day about overthinking and how it sabotages our faith. And so now I am silencing the thoughts in my mind, and I make it to the other end of this water trail, and I'm just having this moment. I close my eyes and I'm in deep thoughts and deep reflection. And for me, because I'm an overthinker, it's like there's always thoughts racing through my brain. So I have to really be intentional to stop the thoughts. And so I like really have to drown out the noise and really like concentrate and focus to not think or hear anything. And it's kind of a challenge. So anyway, and there was this lady that run by and they distracted me because her and her 2 big dogs, like they literally came right where I was standing at. It was just me in the water and me and God. And these dogs come out there and like literally come run in the water and like take a whole splash bath in the water. But anyway, so she apologized. They kept going about their business. But anyway, so as I'm closing my eyes, trying to get back into that moment, I'm deep in reflection. Next thing you know, I open my eyes, y'all, and I see something in the water, and I'm like, what is that? Like, y'all, it was like, I'm like, I just saw it kept like going up and down, and I'm like, that ain't no fish. I'm like, is that a snake or something? I'm like, but it's on the other side of the water, so I'm like over here, and I could see it from a distance, but I'm like, so the more and more like my eyes get focused on that, I realize it's an otter. And I'm like, wow, like that's the whole otter. And so I'm like, who knew? Like who knew that you would have saw an otter out here at a creek? And so so then I continued to walk along the path, and the Lord, like something drew my attention to go, because as you go, sometimes there you could take this way or take that way. So if I would have gone this way, like there was these trees and stuff in the way, so I could have kept going straight, and I wouldn't have had to like duck behind the trees. But something told me to go this way where the tree was. So I go that way, y'all. And so as I'm just reflecting, I'm like, okay, maybe the Lord is gonna like say something else or give me some other kind of sign or something. So y'all, I close my eyes. I'm in deep thought and reflection. Y'all, open my eyes up. I look down on the ground. What do I see? 5 tea lit candles. 5. The same number 5 that the Lord just put in my spirit the other night when I couldn't sleep, that I literally put in my notes. And I'm like, Lord, like you are just like, oh my goodness, like God is just so amazing. So anyway, so now I'm continuing to go along the path, right? As I'm going along the path, then I stop, and then I'm in deep reflection again. This time I open my eyes and look to my right. There's this card wedged into this tree. And I'm like, what is that? It got a QR code on it. And so then I'm like, well, but you know, nowadays these scammers get creative. So you mess around and scan a QR code and they done swipe all your stuff, honey. They be done stole all your money, got all your logins to all your banks and so on and so forth. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna scan this QR code, but I'm like, let me see. And so I try to tug on the card and it kind of rips a little bit. But so now I'm trying to see like, where is this card from? Like, what is this card? Because obviously the Lord wanted me to see this card. So now I get closer and it says Elevate City Church. And I'm like, okay, so I go and do my research. And I have to tell y'all about that later, and that'll be another video somewhere down the line. But anyway, the Lord ended up giving me further revelation about that. But yeah, so I'll come back and tell you guys the spiritual and biblical meaning of these creatures. Okay, so these are the 5 tea lit candles, just so you guys know I wasn't lying. All right, so now I want to share with you guys the research that I did on the symbolism and the spiritual and biblical meaning of these creatures that I've encountered while on my dates with the Lord. So as it relates to the otter, in many cultures, the otter is seen as a symbol of wisdom, strength, and patience. The spirit animal is also known for its ability to adapt to change and resourcefulness. Like, that totally speaks to the season of my life with me just taking this major leap of faith. And, the Lord has definitely been increasing my wisdom, giving me strength and patience on this faith journey. And I want to just briefly share the biblical meaning that it gave for the otter. It says that, let's see. It says otters have significant meaning in the Bible. The Hebrew and Greek Bibles point to otters as a symbol of God's protection for his people, which that's what God has been showing me these times. Each time that I'm out in the woods and I'm encountering these animals, like, the Lord is letting me know that I will never leave you nor forsake you. I am your protection. You don't have to fear. I'm going to be your shield. They also signify agility and perseverance against other natural elements such as strong currents or competition with other animals, qualities that many Christians strive for. This way, otter symbolism can be found throughout various facets of biblical literature, offering an example of God's continuous protection and care. And that is just, like, so fitting to this season that I'm in with the Lord. Like, the Lord is steadily reminding me that he's going to be my protector. Now, the name of this bird is egret, E-G-R-E-T, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But the egret is a remarkable bird known for its graceful appearance and elegant movements. It holds significant symbolism in the Bible. In biblical texts, birds often carry symbolic meanings representing various aspects of spirituality and divine intervention. The egret serves as a powerful symbol of purity and righteousness in the eyes of God. And the more and more that the Lord, like, speaks to me and he gives me different words, like, he's been really, like, putting on my heart the importance of being pure and being righteous. Throughout the Bible, references to birds reflect their connection to spiritual messages and teachings. I want to give the 4 points that it talks about for the egret. Divine guidance. Egrets can remind us of God's guidance and direction in our lives. Just as the egret gracefully navigates his path, we should rely on God's wisdom and follow his heart. Proverbs 3:5-6 states, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight." If you've been paying attention to my videos, that's a scripture I've been quoting repetitively. Number 2, purity and cleansing. The pure white plumage of the egret represents purity and cleanliness. In Psalm 51:7, we read, "Cleanse me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow." This verse highlights the transformative power of God's forgiveness and the ability to wash away our sins. And that's what the Lord has been doing with me lately, renewing my mind and just purifying me and purifying my heart. So the third point is grace and elegance. Egrets exhibit elegance and grace in their movements, reflecting the beauty of God's creation. Ephesians 2:8 says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves, it is the gift of God." The egret's graceful presence can serve as a reminder of God's graciousness in our lives. Number 4, patience and trust, which is definitely what the Lord has been, instilling in me. Egrets are known for their patience while hunting for food. Their ability to stand still for extended periods teaches us to trust in God's provision and wait patiently for his timing. As mentioned in Psalm 27:14, wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. I literally just posted a video about us waiting on the Lord yesterday. Also about trusting in him. And that's one thing that the Lord has been doing. He's been dealing with my heart posture and helping me to build my trust in him, or help me build my trust of him. Because, like, I trust in the Lord. I know who the Lord is. I trust in who he is. But trusting in him and trusting him are two totally different things. Like, do you trust him to surrender every part of your life, every aspect, like every decision? Like, that's a whole different thing than just trusting in the Lord. But yes, so this has been so good to me. I just wanted to share this experience with you guys. Like, this is how my dates have been going. This is the tea that I had for you guys. I hope and pray that if this video reached your timeline, it reached you in great spirits and in great health. My name is Caressa. That's what I have for you guys. I love you guys, and stay tuned to my next video.